the process. That was the second. Did you have any doubt or reservations about going back to doing another, directing another movie after that, or did you know you needed to just get back out there on the playing field? And yeah,
I don't think I had any particular reservations. I was a little tired after all that, but it ended up all right. So I think it was just a question of finding the right project and feeling enthused about the right project.
And what was it in this case that made you say, you know, you've known Casey throughout the period of, I think, at least certainly Margaret and some other things. How did Casey sort of come to you as the idea for the lead in this film? Was it clear immediately?
Well, yeah, I mean, it wasn't clear immediately because initially it was brought to me as something John was going to do, and then when John was schedule changed, then Matt was going to be in it and direct it, and then Matt asked me if I wanted to direct it, and I did. So then Matt was going to be in it. Then Matt's schedule shrunk too small in our window for him to do it. So then we turned to Casey, but it was immediately. There was no one else to turn to. Matt and I both, and I think Casey too, sort of knew he was on deck if Matt's schedule wasn't going to work out. And you know, sometimes people say, well, what would it have been like if Matt had been in it? It would have been very different. But it's impossible, looking back, to separate Casey from the part. Impossible. And you know, when you're looking forward and you're imagining different people in the part, you can kind of juggle them around in your mind. But when someone does the part as beautifully as Casey did it, you know, his personal characteristics notwithstanding, it becomes totally impossible to think of anyone else playing the role. Really.
And Casey, you said before that in a weird way, the confluence of what was going on in your personal life just happened to be at a time and in a mindset that actually maybe didn't make the period of making this movie especially enjoyable or happy, but it fueled the performance. Can you just expand on that a little bit? Just, you know, where you were as you were probably in gloomy part of the year, time of the year, place where you made this movie. What was going on in your own mind?
I was feeling pretty good when I started this movie. I don't know. But I think one of the things that happens, and one of the things that's great about being an actor, is that you get to, because you step into a part and someone else has written it and they're casting it, and you had no idea that it was sort of out there brewing, and suddenly they show up at your doorstep and they go, hey, can you do Lee Chandler? And you hadn't been thinking about, you know, that kind of person or that character at all. You suddenly have to root around in the kind of cellar of your own life and find the parts of yourself that are going to work in that character, and kind of, it's sort of like saying, like, okay, sure, I'll do it, and you throw open the costume chest and you pull out all the different things and you go, maybe a witch's hat would work, or maybe this will, maybe I'll play him like a clown. You have to find the things that are going to help you pull the part off, and this part was, I knew it was going to be really hard because I wasn't sure exactly what was happening with it when I read it, but I was totally engrossed from the very first time that I read it, which is almost never ever happens when I read a script. It's very rare that I make it through 10 pages without sort of getting frustrated or bored, and this was like the opposite. I read it and then I read it again, and it was very moving. The whole thing just worked, and it seemed like real people on the page. I can't say enough about that part of it, and so I thought, oh man, I know. And every time I read it, there was new things that I was learning about the part. So I knew that it was that process would continue, and there would be things to learn the whole way through. And so I really wasn't sort of feeling at all like Lee Chandler, thank God, in my own life. But I found the parts of myself that I didn't know were kind of there that would work for him. And I think probably anyone could do, if they put their mind to it, could feel that way and find their way into that character. It's just we don't often want to. I think I at least not focused on the parts of me that are my own little tragedies and things that have made me feel bad. But when you're doing that movie, you have to kind of stir them up and hold them close.
Yeah.